Hey there, I'm Sully, and as always, welcome to the Gun Club. Alrighty, hope everyone's having a wonderful evening. For those of y'all who don't know me, my name is Mike Sullivan. I'm a firearms instructor in beautiful, scenic upstate South Carolina, and you're with us for the Gun Club for the weekly update, November 16th, 2023. I've got a few things to go over. A little bit of not so great news on the first one here. We're going to get into a little bit as far as some legal updates. In Colorado, the suit that was filed there, which was Garcia versus Polis, where Alicia Garcia, along with Mountain State Legal, were taking on the governor to try to get the 3-day waiting period to purchase a firearm repealed. Basically, the old story, it's 3 days if you go through legal channels, but any hoodlum or idiot can get one on the street free, so within a day for next to nothing. So she was trying to address that, basically from a standpoint of we're making law-abiding citizens wait, we're making victims wait, we're making basically putting victims and decent citizens at a disadvantage to criminals. Additionally, in the Bruin analysis, and that there's no 3-day waiting period in the text history of tradition. There's never been one there. Beyond that, it's also just nothing more than a headache. If I personally own, say, 4 firearms and I want to go buy the 5th, why do I have to go make 2 trips to the gun store, take up 2 days of time, burn extra gas, burn extra time, especially in a state like Colorado where things can be a little bit spread out, when, again, the vast majority of guns that are involved in crimes are not bought legally through channels anyway, so how is this going to help anything? It got defeated in the first round. They are going to appeal. She's already said she's willing to take this up to the state Supreme Court and potentially the U.S. Supreme Court. So, again, first round loss, but that's okay. There may be an appeal. Secondly, the Supreme Court may be announcing tomorrow that they're taking on a second gun case. We know this past Tuesday they heard arguments on the Rahimi case, which again was looking to make it easier for people with either a restraining order or things like that to be able to purchase firearms, as a restraining order is a one-party document. It said, like, unless you're convicted of something violent, then fine. If someone's convicted of something violent, fine. Then we can deal with removing firearms rights. They've given them up by being convicted. But a mere accusation or a mere statement by somebody shouldn't be enough to remove your rights. So they heard the arguments. We don't have anything yet. We'll probably hear something in 2024. Also, Governor Grisham, I believe Lujan Grisham in Arizona, has stated she's planning on restoring the public health order. That was the one that originally banned firearms by even legal concealed carry holders anywhere in the city or in Bernalillo County. She is trying to come back and the second version of that was in parks and playgrounds only, basically making them effectively gun-free zones. It was a 30-day order. She stated she's going to probably come back and expand the length of time on that. That was the one that even the sheriff said, we're not going to be enforcing this. It got massive constitutional outcry. It within a week was being hit from Second Amendment Foundation, several other organizations, and, well, got retracted back to just parks and playgrounds. Now, that being said, should we have suspended rights to conceal carry, even if you've got a legal permit in parks and playgrounds? Well, I'm going to say this. If we make parks and playgrounds gun-free zones, are we going to have the same reaction we've had in schools? We've seen what's happened in schools. They're gun-free zones, and they're also very soft targets. Except now, many of these parks and playgrounds don't even have a locked door around them. So I guess, if you're in Arizona and you're looking for soft targets, Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham is going to make sure you've got plenty of them at any local park and playground. Gun-free zones don't work. It's been proven. Go look at, crimeprevention.org. Dr. John Lott has done all the research on it for you. 90 to 96%, depending what statistic you use, of these mass shootings occur in gun-free zones. Why? Because that's the easiest place for the scumbag to get a high body count. The least chance they're going to meet some resistance. Think about it. You don't see these people wanting to do mass shootings busting into police stations. You don't see people at mass shootings going to gun shows. Why? Because they know it's not going to work out too well for the home team. So, what do we have? She's trying to do something to solve a problem, whether it's real perceived or in this case, in her case, Michelle, it's imagined, okay? But with it being an imagined problem, that there's a lot of mass shootings going on in playgrounds. Have they had any? Is her proclamation, which isn't even a law? It's just the governor's order because apparently in there you don't live in a constitutional republic. Apparently in Arizona, it's more of a monarchy where the queen on high proclaims what the laws shall be, and the mere subjects, you Arizona citizens, have to deal with it. That's not the way we pass laws in this country. So, but she said she wants to go down that road again. She apparently likes going crashing down that road. Not the brightest, if you ask me, but that's okay. She's solving an imaginary problem by infringing on constitutional rights and making people more vulnerable. Secondly, for those individuals who take their kids to and from playgrounds, think about it. If you're taking your kids to the playground, you now have to disarm in order to do it. Gee, that's really nice. I guess, those people, I wonder who would be taking kids to the playground most of the times during the day. Hit me up in the chat. Give me a thumbs up if you have an idea. I have a hunch or two. And I think maybe those individuals wouldn't necessarily want themselves to be disarmed and more vulnerable. But, Governor Grisham, you're welcome. She's going to make sure that you're good and vulnerable for anyone who wants to do anything. In New York State, this one's a real interesting one, came across. New York State Attorney General Letitia James has filed a lawsuit against Mean Arms. Now, Mean Arms is a company out of Georgia. They actually make a device that can be put on to an AR-15 to make it basically lock the magazine in place so you cannot rapidly drop the magazine. Remember, they don't want interchangeable box magazines on rifles in certain states, so that way you couldn't detach your magazine, you couldn't rapidly reload a new magazine. You actually have to load the rounds into the weapon one by one through the upper port. Well, they make this device to lock the magazine in place. Now, you can purchase this to install on your firearm. If you can install it, you can also remove it from your firearm. Well, it turns out that the individual in the Buffalo shooting back about a year and a half ago, the little piece of garbage is doing life, he was able, this device, when he bought the AR, it had this device in place. He was able to find the instructions to remove it, which the company that makes it, you have a way to put it on, you have a way to take it off. So they provided him with instructions to make the weapon more deadly. No, they just provided him the instructions to undo the thing that was added to the firearm. It was an aftermarket part. However, she is now naming them in a lawsuit, saying that they aided and abetted his mass shooting. Folks, we're losing our mind here. Now, I'm going to go one step further with this, although it's not directly related. It sort of comes in. We've seen it all these times where in the wake of a shooting or something else, they try to sue a firearm distributor, a firearm manufacturer, an ammunition manufacturer, say Lake City, who makes a lot of ammunition. They do, I know, a lot under the Winchester name or Federal. They come up with these great ideas. Okay. If we sued every car dealership or car manufacturer for every DWI wreck, Ford would be out of business. If we sued every cell phone company, if we sued AT&T or Sprint or Verizon or T-Mobile for every time someone made harassing phone calls, they'd all be out of business. This is not about the firearms manufacturers doing anything wrong. This is about these state level and sometimes federal level attorney general or deputy attorneys trying to attack the firearms community by putting manufacturers out of business. No one is responsible for a product if they sell it and it's misused. I buy a cup. That's a heavy aluminum cup. If I use it to drink out of and keep my beverage cold, great, normal use. However, if I take it and throw it at someone and hit them over the head with it, should we now sue Ozark Trail or Aladdin or whoever made the cup? No, that's not its intended use. Now, if a firearm is defective and it malfunctions and hurts someone, fine, I can see manufacturer liability. But we all need to get together real quickly and make sure that these lawsuits get thrown out as quickly as possible, because otherwise, the cost of doing business as a firearm manufacturer or a firearm seller is going to go up dramatically. What's that going to mean? Add 25 to 50% to the cost of any firearm you want to buy or own. Add 25 to 50% to the cost of every round of ammunition you buy. They're trying to go after these manufacturers. Again, a company that makes a device so you cannot change out the magazine, so it's not a removable magazine, so it fits the legal definition of what they have to have in that state, but it's also able to be removed. So we'll sue them because it's able to be removed. Well, again, they're grasping at straws, but that's okay. Letitia James is going to use the taxpayers' money from the New York State citizens to go do war on this small company out of Georgia and try to bankrupt them with legal fees and legal costs, because after all, her costs aren't coming out of her purse. We're paying her to do it. Folks, this is crazy. So we need to make sure that these attorney generals who want to go after every firearm manufacturer, every firearm accessory manufacturer, every ammunition manufacturer, if they're doing it, they need to be voted out. Otherwise, all these companies that we do business with, whether it's Smith or Remington or Mossberg or whoever we want to do business with, or SIG or anyone else, they may not be able to do business in this country anymore. There's where we're going. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it so expensive for them to sell to the 2A community that they can chase them out of this country. Don't let them do it. So let's make Letitia James and anyone else who's doing this, attacking these companies, let's make them pay a price at the ballot box and get them out of there. So that way, protect our companies that we want to do business with. All righty. Now, I've talked about the Rahimi case. Let's see, what else? Have a lot of good news. Fortunately, did not have any major incidents this week. I'm glad about that. Have several incidents involving good guys and a girl with a gun. The first one I've got. This one comes to us out of Greeley, Colorado. It was November 11th. A 26-year-old male wandering down the street, wanders up to a house in the middle of the night, tries to kick in the door. He's been unable to kick in the door, so he begins randomly firing into the house, because that's what 26-year-olds do at O'Dark 100. There's a male and a female in the house. The male resident returns fire. The suspect fled. He ended up being arrested at the hospital with a belly wound and has been charged with multiple counts of attempted murder. I don't know. They've got no connection between the individuals inside and outside the house. I don't know whether the guy was drunk, high, confused, what was going on. But someone's banging on the door of a house and then starts shooting rounds into it indiscriminately. What happens to that homeowner or the two individuals in the house if they don't have a firearm with which to protect themselves? It's the ultimate equalizer. Because of that, the two people inside the house remain safe, and the suspect is in the hospital. When he gets out of the hospital, he's going to be catching multiple counts of attempted murder. Now, the very next day, Pompano Beach, Florida, a woman shot an intruder that broke into her home. Now, this one was kind of interesting. The neighbor sitting across the street had gone outside to smoke, saw someone walking up to the house, kind of wondered, The guy breaks out the front window and tries to crawl into the house. The neighbor next door realizes that he's pulling out the screen and breaking the window, She's calling 911. Next thing you know, she hears shots. Law enforcement responds. The gentleman was wounded as a result of the shooting. He did, again, go to the hospital and was catching a bunch of charges. And the neighbor said she couldn't believe that this guy would do that. Walk right up to a house, break the window, and start crawling in a window. Again, I come to the question for the lady inside the house. What happens to her if she cannot take care of herself? Now, the woman across the street saw it all going on, saw it happening, called 911. But you know what? When seconds count, sometimes 911 is minutes away. I'm not throwing rocks at the, law enforcement side. They don't have, Star Trek transporters. They can't beam down to our backyard as much as we'd like them to beam down to our backyard sometimes. They can't instantly show up. We have to be able to protect ourselves. These are two cases of people just at their house, living their life, doing their thing. They weren't out looking for trouble. They weren't bad guys. They weren't doing anything wrong. But guess what? Trouble came to them and they were able to protect themselves. And had it not, one, you have a woman in the house with a guy who was crawled in the window. I don't know. How do you think that works out? Ladies, y'all tell me. Let me know. Beyond that, the guy randomly shooting into someone's house. Now, you can make the statement, well, maybe he shouldn't have a gun. You're right. Maybe the guy on the outside shouldn't, or, whatever's going on. If he gets, of course, convicted of attempted murder, he won't ever have to worry about that again. Well, who am I joking? Again, remember, 10% come through regular channels. The rest come through back channels. And then we have another one. This one came out of Maryland. Was really interesting. A gentleman sees two men outside breaking into his shed, calls 911, goes outside, tells them to stop breaking into his shed. Seems like a reasonable thing to do. One of them brandishes a gun. Well, he ends up getting wounded. He's down at the scene, and the other suspect flees. One more time now. This one, the gentleman was going outside because people are breaking into his shed. Should you be able to do that? Should you not be able to do that? Or do we have to just let criminals break in, take what they want, do as they see fit, and play victims? So, again, two in custody, and the homeowner likely will not be charged. And the last one. This one comes out of Shelby, North Carolina. Initially, there is a verbal altercation between two gentlemen on the street. They separate, go their separate ways. About 40 minutes later, a suspect shows up with a firearm and shoots the other guy in the face and the shoulder. Because he mouthed off at him, because he told him off, because he called him something, he made fun of his mama. I don't know. But what happens? Well, the victim goes down. However, a concerned citizen nearby, a female CWP holder, that's right, female CWP holder, opens fire on the shooter. Well, not only does he have to stop shooting at the guy he's shooting and try to figure out what's going on with her, he ends up hit 5 times. Nice shooting, lady. Now, from that standpoint, fortunately, both the individuals survive. However, the shooter was in much worse condition than the guy he shot twice. Apparently, the wounds were superficial to the guy who got shot twice. When I read it in the face, I thought it was going to be bad, but it was superficial. And, they're saying that this woman is a hero, that this man likely would have been killed right in front of her had she not reacted. There's a good girl with a gun. Folks, again, I talk about it. We're protectors, we're defenders. None of us are trying to glorify shooting people or hope to shoot people. If you go out and you want to get a firearm so you wish you could shoot someone, you probably don't need that firearm. It's going to get you in more trouble and put you in a cell for the rest of your life. On the other side of that coin, there's 4 cases in a period of 6 days where somebody with a firearm at the right place at the right time was able to ward off violence, was able to ward off crime, was able to stand up for a good guy and stop a bad guy from shooting them, to stop a bad guy from, breaking into their house. Stopped a bad guy from, going in the window and doing heaven knows what to that lady. Folks, this is where we're at in the world. I hate that we live like that. I really do. On the other side of the coin, I worked the road long enough to know, folks, it can get ugly. It can get ugly fast. So, again, from that standpoint, hats off to all four of these. Again, it definitely, been a kind of crazy week, a lot of legal stuff going on, but definitely wanted to give hats off to these individuals for stepping up and doing the right thing. Stepping up, and especially this lady on the end, on the last one, she protected her neighbor. She protected a stranger, excuse me, and was able to absolutely neutralize the threat. And that's kind of a big deal. So, again, she not done what she did, might not have worked out too good for the home team, so to speak. Now, beyond that, we've got a few more things we need to discuss. However, due to the nature of some of these, we kind of got to make a little swap off here. Some of the stuff I talk about may not always be politically correct, or at least not what we would consider YouTube politically correct. And so if I want to say something that's not quite YouTube politically correct, where would I do it? Where can I go for free speech to express my opinion loudly and proudly, and I don't have to worry about YouTube tearing down my channel, giving me a strike, or otherwise being mean and nasty to me because I have an opinion they may not agree with? Well, I'll give you a hint. Let's go rumbling.